पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are on third canto, chapter 5, verse number 15. O Maitreya, the friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. So it's a beautiful verse where Vidura is requesting Maitreya Muni that he wants to hear only about Krishna or Krishna Katha, which will do good to everyone. So you'll find that Prabhupada is explaining at least 5 points. First of all, the topics that are related to the Lord are absolutely essential. So it's very, very important that everyone hear the topics which are related to Krishna. All the topics which are not related to Krishna will not do any good to you. The most materialistic people, Sri Prabhupada explains, are averse to the topics about Krishna. They don't want to hear about Krishna, especially the impersonalists and the voidists. The impersonalists who say the Lord has no form. So when they hear about Krishna, it doesn't make any sense to them. And the voidists, of course, they don't believe in God. So when they hear, it's not going to do any good to them because their mind is engaged in sense enjoyment or mental speculation. Nakshar Prabhupada explains that topics related to sense gratification or mental speculation are both useless, will not do any good to anyone. So that is why Prabhupada is requesting Maitreya Muni to speak or talk about topics related to Krishna. Now, we should know that Vidura is an advanced devotee, not an ordinary devotee. And he has a very strong relationship with Krishna. We should know Vidura is no one but Yamaraj himself. He, due to some curse, who has come to this earth and has taken part or has become one of the persons to take part in Krishna Lila. So he knows who is Krishna, and everything to relate to Krishna is very, very beneficial to everyone, anyone who hears about it. And the topics that are related to Krishna are absolutely essential, for they are on absolute platform. They are not on a mundane platform. In the Bhagavatam, it's written in the second canto, Shrotavya Vadini Rajendra Nirnam Shanti Sahasrashu Apasayam Atmatattvam Griheshu Griha Medinam. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many things as subject matter for hearing in the human society. O Emperor, means he's talking to Parikshit, that today in the world, so many people have so many things to hear about. For example, like people like to hear about politics, people like to hear about social life, people like to hear about entertainment, people want to hear about latest fashion, motor cars, and so many things like that. There are so many topics they want to hear about, but none of these topics can deliver anyone. So those who are not on the path of self-realization, they want to discuss things that will arouse their sensual pleasures. What will please the senses is what they want to hear. And their scope of understanding is more or less concentrated on selfishness. Because they think what is good to me is good for everyone. And that is not a right understanding. Selfishness begins by thinking of just sense enjoyment or mental pleasure. And such selfishness is also found in animals. You find that the animals do the same thing, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And wherever they can enjoy these 4 things, they'll go and live there. So you'll find that these people, they create their own mundane poetry. They write good poetries. They want to make poetries which will please people. You'll find that people like to hear poetry. You find so many movies are made practically every day in India or outside India, America, so many places. And many of these movies have dialogues and songs. And all these songs are written to please or to arouse sensual pleasures. Otherwise, who will hear the cinema songs? Nobody. And people like to write philosophy, philosophy which is not related to Krishna. Prabhupada says such a philosophy is nothing but mental speculation and which will not do any good to you because it's born in a tiny brain of a small philosopher. It has nothing, it is very superficial and it will do nothing good to anyone or even to themselves. Or they want to propagate isms. You find people discuss isms. Srila Prabhupada makes the word very clear that our Krishna consciousness movement is not an ism. Hinduism and Buddhism and so many isms. And in this way, there is unlimited subjects. You can go on hearing about those isms, and they are all limited between mind and body. Either to give you bodily pleasures or to give pleasure to your mind, and you think, oh, this is good. I recall one day I was told that come and listen to one preacher who has come to a hall and is describing about the glories of Krishna's flute. Of course, I didn't go there, but those people who went there, they all came with absolutely nonsensical views because this was nothing from the scriptures. It was just created by that person who was a good orator. So one has to rise beyond bodily or mental platform in order to understand Krishna or Krishna Katha or the stories related to Krishna. All the incidents when you hear about Krishna, you cannot understand them unless you do not arise above bodily platform. Narad Muni says, Sarva Upadi Virirmukta Tattvarattvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Savanam Bhakti Uttamam. Also, that the best bhakti is if you can perform when you rise above the bodily platform. And it's very difficult to find people who are not on bodily platform. They all like to stay on the bodily platform. You find Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice example that once a lady went to buy a bird, a beautiful bird. It was a multicolored parrot. And along with that, she also bought a cage and brought it home. And she started caring for the cage, but not the parrot. And ultimately, what happened? The bird in the cage died. So it is said that our case is the same. We are attracted to this external cage, the body, and we like to take care of the body so much. We give pleasure to the body, to the skin, to the eyes, to the nose, to the ears, to the tongue, taste, and so on. But we do not care about the want of the bird inside. In this way, Srila Prabhupada says that actually the bird trapped inside this cage has to be released, has to be set free. You find that the bird actually belongs to the massive sky, which you look up, it can fly very nicely. It's not meant to stay in this cage. But those people who are impersonalists or voidists, they cannot understand this subject matter. Because when you hear about Krishna, Katha, or about Krishna, the very story, all the narrations of Krishna are divine. All you have to do is just hear and nothing more than that. And it's full of pleasure for everyone. Even if you're a fallen person, or whether you are an elevated person, you are a sinful person or a non-sinful person or a pious person, this Krishna Katha or the narration of Krishna will do good to everyone, from the smallest to the biggest, or to anyone you say. Early in the Bhagavatam, there was a verse, Dharma Svanashishta Pumsham Vikshukshena Kathasuya Not Padyedrat yadi ratim shram eva hi kevalam. This verse is a kind of a meter. It proves to you whether you are making a progress in Krishna consciousness. If your ear is not attracted to hear about Krishna, it means you are not making any progress. You are still much, much backward. You may be expert in your occupational duties, but what is the use? Because you are wasting your time at doing all that useless labor to please your body, your senses, and so on. So, it's very, very important that we hear Krishna Katha from the right source. We find that people think that they are okay or happy with the occupational duties. You find that anyone who fits in the society has at least one duty to do. But that duty is all a waste of time if our heart, or, or we can say that if Krishna Katha cannot create an attraction towards Krishna to you, it is a waste of time, waste of energy. So men have different occupational duties and different conception from life to life. For example, the gross materialist cannot think beyond senses because his mind or his intelligence becomes limited and ends up in a concentrated and extended selfishness. He thinks good about himself. Those who are familiar with Sri Prabhupada's lectures, he speaks two different words, Kirpana and Brahmana. Kirpana means one who thinks good of himself or his family. That's it, nothing more than that. And the Brahmana is one who thinks good of everyone. So in our Krishna consciousness, we should think of doing good to everyone. That's why this movement is doing the highest welfare work to the entire mankind. Who can do like this? In the English, they say that instead of giving a fish, you teach a man to do fishing so that he can get fish himself. In the similar way, in this Krishna conscious movement, we are giving devotional service to everyone. And the devotional service begins by hearing and continues by chanting. So important aspect of Krishna consciousness is to regularly hear about Krishna. As you hear about Krishna either from Bhagavad Gita directly or from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken by very elevated devotees. In both the books, they speak about who is Krishna, what is Krishna, what are Krishna's pastimes, his name, his form, his qualities, his abode, and so on. We can go on hearing it, and even one lifetime will not be enough. Krishna Katha has one thing very, very special, that you can hear the narration of Krishna once and you hear it again and again, even 1,000 times, yet your heart will not be satiated. You want to hear more and more and more because the subject matter never goes old or does not become, we can say, spoiled. We can go on hearing and hearing, it's ever fresh. Recently, just a few days back, we heard the glories of Krishna about Krishna's appearance. In the end, we had Janmashtami, but for a couple of days, we were hearing about Krishna, how he took birth, what happened. And whole Bhagavatam speaks about Krishna, not just Krishna in Krishna's Krishna himself, but all his previous comings to this planet, how he appeared as Matsya. Matsya means, what do you call it? Tortoise, Kurma. Sorry, Kurma is tortoise, Matsya is a fish, as Vaman, as a short dwarf, Vara as a boar incarnation, about Parshuram, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Nishingadev, Krishna, Balaram, and so on. All these pastimes, as you hear, then it's very, very important that you hear it attentively. Now the point may come, which is Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj explains in his book called Bhakti, where he explains that there cannot be Bhakti if there is no Bhagavan. Bhagavan means a person, not an imperson. If there is no Bhagavan, there is no Bhakti. So it's very important that you first accept Bhagavan. So once you accept Krishna, who is the Supreme Bhagavan or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the bhakti can start. The transaction between a devotee and Krishna is bhakti. And this bhakti, if it is nurtured very nicely by regularly hearing and chanting his glories, then the bhakti creeper grows and goes up and reaches the feet of Krishna. So bhakti is very, very important. And the essence of bhakti is that it will purify your heart. You find that people are not clean in their hearts because there's a very big knot in the heart. The biggest knot in the heart is attraction between a male and a female. Every male gets attracted to female, and female get attracted to male. And it may be in a gross form or it can be even in a subtle form. Without hearing Krishna Gatha, this Hrida Granthi or this note cannot open. And till it is not open, you cannot enter into the mysteries of real Krishna Gatha. It remains more or less like a story. I recall that once I was invited for a satsang at some house, and when I started speaking about Krishna, the lady in the house said, "Oh, I know everything about Krishna because I watch the Mahabharata serial every day." So this is the sense what most people have. But Krishna is not just what you see in the Mahabharata serial. You have to know Krishna by tattvata. Tattva means scientifically. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kipa Vipra Kribanasi Sutra Kenanaya, Jai Krishna Tattvaveta, Say Guru Aya. Anyone who knows Krishna by tattva or scientifically, or he can explain you nicely with reasoning and logic, then that person is the right person to speak about Krishna to you. So don't hear about Krishna, about so-called the kathakars or those who are orators who speak and spice it up with a lot of entertainment. And common mass or the general mass of people, they like such things. And these orators, they've just trained or have an art of speaking. This speaking will not do good to anyone. Sri Prabhupada says very heavily in the first canto that don't waste your time by hearing those so-called katha. He especially says the Bhagavad Sapta. Don't hear them. It will not do any good to you. And he says, even after hearing such kathas for many, many times, a person cannot give up even one habit like smoking or drinking tea. It's very difficult for him. So what to talk about purifying one's heart? Krishna Katha is naturally good. You can hear, and your heart will not be satiated. But the good thing the Krishna Katha will do is it will cleanse your heart completely and bring you to the platform of asamsayam samagram. Means it will remove all the doubts from you about Krishna, and samagram means you'll become fixed in Krishna consciousness. Also in Bhagavad Gita it says the same thing, that one must hear about Krishna. Krishna tells Arjuna so many times, in so many verses, hear about me, or I am telling you because you are not envious of me. In most cases, if you really study even ourselves, we are envious at least to some degree. And in the due course, when we execute our devotional service, we realize after quite a long time, yes, there is envy in us. For example, if one devotee glorifies another devotee, and that devotee may not be a friend of you, or you may not be in good terms with the devotee, at once you feel the jealousy. Why is he glorifying this person? But what is wrong in glorifying one devotee to another devotee? You may not be in good terms with him, but someone else is in good terms with that person. At once you realize that there is envy in your heart. Or some devotee is doing something very nicely and you feel that I can do better than him. It means that is your envy speaking. Sometimes you find devotees, they waste their time simply in judging the devotees. And whole of their life is wasted. They judge, oh, this devotee is this devotee is this. But every devotee is special. You find that every devotee is good at least one thing, that he is doing service to Krishna, which others cannot do that service, or others cannot do better than that. So service is being done by a devotee for a long time, for years and years, and that devotee, you may not like him, but that devotee is, has attracted the attention of Krishna. So in other words, we should not be envious towards any devotee, because devotees are also representations of Krishna. And Krishna says also that even the devotee is another form of Krishna. Just like Bhagavatam is a form of Krishna, in the form of a book. So Krishna is being represented by coming himself or sending us devotees. So whether he is a beginner or someone who is very advanced, you should not become envious of devotee. If you become envious of devotee, you'll make yourself angry and it will affect your daily chanting. If you want to keep up your chanting, then don't become envious. When you are not envious towards devotees, it means you are not envious towards Krishna. Krishna is the father of every living entities. Even those who are devotees, non-devotees, other creatures, moving or non-moving, he is the supreme father. So why become envious towards Krishna? That is a very good understanding. She should come to that understanding. So going back to the example of the bird in the cage, you find that the bird wants to come out of the cage, fly in the sky. In the same way, our soul, which is imprisoned in this body, not for this lifetime, but for many, many lifetimes, it has stayed in that body, even previously having different body or another body, another body. It wants a body in which it can be liberated, and it can be done in this human life. Human life is very, very important. In a simple layman's language, the human life can be compared to gold. Gold is very expensive. So this body is also very expensive because in human life, we can perform devotional service. We can understand by understanding our relationship with Krishna, and by which we will attain love of Krishna by seriously engaging in devotional service. We find that we are given an advice over and over and again. Do not give up two things. Do not give up your enthusiasm and do not give up your determination. What breaks these two things is our mindset. If our mind is weak, our mind is not very strong, we can easily be drifted far away from the bhakti yoga. So we should remain what we call enthusiastic in devotional service. Just like you are doing some work for someone, maybe as a voluntary work, and someone comes and tells me, oh, you are doing for that person is no good. So at once your work speed will slow, or may even stop. I'm giving you an example. In the same way, you're doing very nicely, and some devotee will say, oh, you're no good. Your seva is no good. At once your determination will go down. But we should not stay on those platforms. Come to a higher platform. Everybody knows the story of the sparrow Srila Prabhupada gives in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That the sparrow had left eggs near the ocean, and the ocean devoured the eggs. So when the sparrow realized this, came to the ocean, said, return my eggs. And the ocean did not pay any heed. So what did the sparrow do? She told the ocean, you return my eggs, otherwise I'm going to drink all your water. And it started doing it by drinking water from the ocean, flying very far and dropping the water on the land. Imagine the sparrow has a very small beak. How much water can it carry? And even if it can carry for a million years, it cannot clear the ocean. Impossible. But when the sparrow was doing this work, it was noticed by different demigods. And they went to tell Garuda. Garuda is the carrier of Lord Vishnu. That look at your younger sister. She is engaged in this endeavor. And Garuda came here and told the ocean, you return it now and now. If you don't return it now, I will dry the ocean. So this should be kept in the mind that once you started Krishna consciousness, do not give up your determination and do not give up your enthusiasm. Just like when something new is there, some new dish is there, some new topics there, we are very enthusiastic to do it. But doing regular chanting or regular hearing, sometimes we lose our enthusiasm or we have lost the taste. Why? Because the heart is not clear, not pure. And what can purify the heart is Krishna Katha. That is why here in this verse, Vidura is requesting that I only want to hear topics related to Krishna. Because topics related to Krishna means they are on an absolute platform, which will do so much good to you simply by hearing and hearing and hearing. And this is the beauty of hearing Krishna Katha. You can open any page of Srimad Bhagavatam, or let's say if you do not have a Bhagavatam, you have a Krishna book. Open any page of your Krishna book and you start reading the Leela or the pastime, you'd feel like finishing the entire book. Because other books, philosophy may be difficult for you to assimilate, but Krishna Katha is very easy to understand. That's why in the throughout Bhagavatam, they are all Krishna Kathas. Very, very nice, beautiful Krishna Kathas in all his incarnations. You can take an incarnation one by one, and you'll note that Krishna does amazing things which no human being can do. For example, when the earth was thrown in the ocean, Krishna lifted it by taking the form of a boar. Who can do it? Nobody can do it. Then how he lifted the Mandrachal mountain when the ocean was churned to extract nectar. Nobody can lift a mountain on the back. Or how he protected Gajendra as Lord Hari when he was in difficulty. How he appeared as Parshuram to kill all the Kshatriyas, not once but 21 times, because they were not following scriptural injunctions or respecting Brahmanas. They were ruling whimsically. Or you can hear the glories of Lord Ramachandra. Very sweet. The whole Ramayana means the glories of Lord Ramachandra. Or you can hear about Lord Nrsingadev, how he appeared from the column to protect his devotee Prahlad. Or you can hear about Krishna, lifting the Govardhan, killing Putana, uh, killing so many asuras. All this you can hear, and then you can go to the subtle pastimes of Krishna, which are not, you cannot have access to them unless you are on a spiritual factor, a platform. It's the dealings between Krishna and the gopis. These are not the subject matter for ordinary people, because ordinary people will start speculating. So as I said earlier, that people who are mundaners, who will not accept the path of self-realization, or who don't want to become Krishna conscious, for them these topics is like mundane stories. If you remember in our younger days, even in your very younger days, we were told fairy tales, how it starts, how the adventure is there. In the end, it ends by happily living ever after. These are all fairy tales. And then as we grew older, then there were histories taught to us, stories in the literature, but all these are mundane literatures. I can give you an example of literature in which we were taught in our high school. After reading this literature, the effect also of this literature was that most students lost faith in God, because it was speaking about the evil deeds, they call it Gestapo, or what Hitler did to kill so many Jewish people, millions of them. So when you hear about them, then the question comes in your mind, then where is God? If so many people are being killed, what is God doing? And you can lose your faith in God. So these literatures are, even though they may be true or historical or incidentally they may be true, it will not do any good to you. It will spoil your mind. But on the other hand, if you hear about Krishna, various incarnations, even killing by Krishna will do good to you. Sometimes people ask that why your God has to kill so many people. God should liberate all those. But they do not understand that even when Krishna kills someone, although they liberate someone, the result is the same. Just a month or 2 months ago, we were hearing about Shishupal, how when he was killed, his soul entered into the body of Krishna. Of course, it entered the effulgence of Krishna, or even Dantavaka, or even Kamsa, or all the soldiers who were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, they all got liberation. So whether Krishna does good to someone or he kills someone, the result is still the same. In the end, you get the good results. Of course, when the demons are killed, they cannot enter into Vaikuntha, but they stay at the border of Vaikuntha in the Brahmajyoti. So this is the beauty of hearing Krishna Katha. And many of you have heard this Katha, which is very famous in our ISKCON. Once a thief heard about Krishna and he wanted to steal the ornaments of Krishna. And he went and he asked the person who was narrating Krishna Katha, where can I find Krishna? He says, oh, you can find him in Vrindavan. So he went to Vrindavan and looked for Krishna. Of course, he didn't get Krishna immediately. But since he was very sincere to see Krishna, of course, the whole mission was to steal the ornaments. He managed to see Krishna as a young boy. And Krishna refused to give him the ornaments. He says, this don't belong to me. This belongs to my mother, Yashoda. But ultimately, he tried to bribe him by buying some sweets, sweet words. And ultimately, Krishna got ready to give him the ornaments. But because he was seeing Krishna every day, his heart became so purified that he did not want to accept even one ornament from Krishna. Why? Because he had heard about Krishna. And hearing Krishna purifies our heart right to the bottom of the heart. As I told you earlier, that the worst thing that can be in our heart is attraction between a male to a female. We all have that attraction. It can't go. And it doesn't go as far as we have the material body. But Krishna Katha is so good that it can remove it and cut it forever. I can explain you this point in this way, that when Alexander the Great was very young, around 8 years old, in those days in Greece, there used to be different temples. So once he noticed that there was a very long queue going to a temple. So he asked the people, what is in the temple? He said, we don't know, we want to see. So he joined the line and he went inside. And what did he find? There was a round table. And on the table, there was a rope. It was tied in such a way and in a very special way. And there was a notice in front of the rope. Whoever can open this rope or the knot of this rope will rule the world. So when Alexander, when he was as a young boy, when he reached the table, if he noticed the rope, it was tied in such a way, it was impossible to open. But he had a dagger in his hand, a knife in his hand. He just cut the rope. In this way, he opened the knot. And no wonder, he ruled many parts of the world. That means the notice was true. Now, who can cut the rope in our heart of sexual attraction or sensual attraction is only Krishna Katha, nothing else. If you heard Krishna Katha, you'll not be attracted to anyone. Forget women, you'll not be attracted to anyone. Yes, you may be attracted to devotees, but you'll be attracted towards Krishna more and more and more. So all you do is hear about Krishna. That is the main theme which Vidura wants to hear from Maitreya Muni. Please speak about the topics of Krishna or everything related to Krishna, and he uses the word only, nothing else. He didn't want to hear any mundane topics. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, you may ask. I can get questions.
Any questions? Kindly ask. Pradeep Singh, yes, please unmute yourself and ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Oh, Pranari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you mentioned about the determination by hearing it. What else we can cultivate that more determination in us by what other methods?
The best way to cultivate our, Pranari Prabhu is asking that I spoke about determination and how to make our determination strong is by following the rules and regulations of bhakti properly. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj said that if you keep your sadhana and bhajan strong, automatically your determination will be strong. And you need a strong heart for that. Of course, devotees' hearts are very soft, but you have to strengthen your heart by not breaking any rules and regulations and not committing any offenses towards your what do you call, towards your fellow devotees. If you chanted your rounds daily, 16 rounds daily, and you're not broken any rules and regulations, it will keep your determination strong. If you start breaking it or not perform your devotional service with enthusiasm, your determination will go down. And of course, you have to associate devotees who are better than you. We like to associate devotees of our caliber, but we should associate with devotees who are much more advanced than you. That is the instruction given by Rupa Goswami. If you are a Kanishta, take the association of Madhyam. If you are Madhyam, take association of advance or Uttamadhikaris. In this way, your determination will always remain strong. And you should read daily, hear daily. Sri Prabhupada says, even besides our daily sadhana, we should read Swadhyay. Swadhyay means study, read and study, at least minimum 1 hour a day. Again and again, maybe the same topic. Is it okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, one more question.
Yes.
You mentioned that we have a knot in our heart, right?
Yes.
Okay. So basically that whether knot is still there or it's been cut or it's, how do we understand that?
That you will realize yourself. You will realize yourself whether that note is there or not. For example, if you are a family man, the note is extended in the form of family, like your children, your wife, and so on. It's nothing but an extension of that note. It is an attraction which is very difficult to cut it or to open it. That's why I gave you the story of Alexander. That if that note is there, Hridaya Granthi, which Srimad Bhagavatam says, if you read the purport, Sri Prabhupada says that actually means an attraction between a male and female. As far as that attraction remains, it means you are not entered into the realm of Krishna Bhakti. You are doing it for the sake of doing it, but you are not serious. But once that attraction goes away, then what do you call? You relish every pastime of Krishna. For example, Chanakya Pandit gives you a very simple answer that if you see any women or other women other than your wife, do you see them as your mothers? It means you're educated. And if you are still attracted to other women other than your wife, it means you are not educated. You are an ignorant person. So remove that ignorance by hearing about Krishna. Is it okay?
Yeah, Prabhu, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else would like to ask a question? Okay, thank you very much. All the devotees who are hearing on the Zoom. My advice is, as this verse is giving you as a tip, that we should hear about Krishna daily, and you'll enjoy Krishna Katha if your heart is very pure. And even if it's impure, it will purify your heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rukma Prabhu. Thank you very much, Rukma Prabhu, for the wonderful class. And I'd like to request everyone to kindly unmute yourself so we can appreciate Rukma Prabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for him, and you can also turn on your videos for him so you can see all of you who attended.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So next week we have Sri Gauranga Prabhu who will give Srimad Bhagavatam class on Zoom. So kindly attend and spread the word. Thank you very much. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Rukma Prabhu ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.